Hey everybody, how's it going? For years when I've been riding my bike, I've experienced some sort of discomfort. Normally it's located in my left foot, my left leg somewhere, down the IT band. But whatever it is I do on the bike, nothing changes or helps it as much as it does having custom insoles fitted. So recently I went to see Scott Tomkinson of Kernow Physio, who's a friend of mine, who used to train together a lot. He's recently started doing eZesty insoles, which I've used in the past. In 2016, I was given a pair from a team that I was riding for at the time, and it did so much good for my feet. As soon as I knew Scott was making them as well, I needed to go and replace my current ones. In this video, you'll see how we go through the assessment phase, how we make the insoles, why we use the insoles, and also why you might not want to use the insoles. I'd like to point out, we did pay for this product. It's not a promotion of any kind. It's just something that I found to be really beneficial, and you might find too. Hopefully you enjoy the video. It's a little bit different to the sort of thing I normally do. Here it is. Right, so as mentioned before, I think insoles are the best things you can do for foot comfort on a bike. I need to turn my 6-year-old ones into some nice brand new ones, which will replace the insoles which came in my new shoes. So to do that, I've come to see Scott Tomkinson of Kernow Physio. He's now going to introduce himself.
Yeah, so my name's Scott and I'm based in Cornwall. I've known Chris for many years. I think it's 2008 we started racing against each other, and we both love riding road bikes. And I'm a physiotherapist by trade, but I've been doing bike fits for many years. I did an audit the other day, done nearly 3,000 fits, and it's something I really enjoy. I'm here to help Chris maximise performance and minimise injury.
Also, Scott has much more experience than he lets on, having worked at World Tour level as well, and you wouldn't let me forget that every time we rode, telling me the speeds it used to reach in the back of the car there.
Yeah.
Stages.
Yeah, I spent a brief time with Garmin, and my main background is that I had the opportunity to follow Phil Cavell and Julian Wall, who in my opinion they are the pioneers of bike fitting, and it's all evidence based, and yeah, no messing around, and it leads to a healthy, happier rider.
Can you tell me why, for a start, why I need to replace my 6-year-old insoles from the same brand that we're going to replace them with now? I was given these from a cycling team. Really pleased with them. They still function. I can feel that they're not quite as supportive as they were. Tell us why Footbeds are such an important thing.
Well, first of all, these have obviously passed their sell-by date. And Footbeds are really important for many reasons really. It's all about the ankle stability, you know, and for you, you're obviously a sprinter, aren't you? So your bicycle there that you're riding is a up-to-date, really stiff carbon fibre bicycle, and there's no lateral flexion in it. And the idea of the science of a carbon fibre bike is that because there's no lateral stiffness, it's going to go forwards, but the rider has to have the stability to cope with that strength. Because essentially a modern carbon fibre bicycle will just beat you up unless you're strong to support that strength from the bike. And unfortunately the road bike, because it's so strong, it's going to find the weak spot, and quite often that is the rider. So core stability and stability while sprinting out the saddle and in the saddle is important, so that's why we're going to replace these. Looking at these Footbeds, you can see they're starting to crack. 6-7 years of use, and they've done their job, haven't they? So the new set is again from Sidas. It's a very cost-effective product. The reason why I went for Sidas is because, again, it's the best bang for your buck in my opinion. There are other manufacturers that make orthotics, but there's a bit of a heftier price increase. So yeah, I think these are an excellent product. The downside for Sidas is you have to be physically here. The rider has to be here to do a moulding of the foot. Whereas other manufacturers, they have this like 3D printed opportunity, and you literally walk into the lab setting or a clinic, and you'll walk along this foot plate, and it will take a digital image of your foot. It's really cool, and essentially you could be, I don't know, in Abu Dhabi or somewhere, and I could then 3D print a set of orthotics and post them to you. Okay, so it's really good for that point of view, but it comes at a price, you know. So we're going to replace them with these Sidas Footbeds. The carbon fibre is going to be nice and strong, and it's going to keep your ankle nice and neutral. Right, so why should you have a bike fit, and why should you see a physiotherapist? In my opinion, they're two good sort of career pathways, which if you combine the two, leads to a better outcome for the rider. And essentially as a bike fitter, really analysing how someone moves to try and identify injury, risk, and also maximising performance. So first thing we're going to look at is posture. And looking at Chris here, we can see that Chris has a slight varus deformity. Now varus is air between the legs, so he's got a slightly bowed tibia, a bit more pronounced on the right leg than the left. Alright, so again, just a postural observation I've made there. So these white sticky dots here are on these bony landmarks, these tibial tuberosities. That's where all your muscles come down from the thigh onto the kneecap and then onto the top of the shin bone here. And it's a really good marker to see what's going on with the knee tracking. Talking about the knee, I specialise in knee rehab. We're doing some interesting research at the moment on plasma injections. It's pretty good. Some good stuff coming out of Royal Cornwall Hospital. And the reason why we're doing footbeds today is because the evidence of foot stability in relation to knee pain is massive. So if we can get your ankles nice and stable whilst under load and sprinting and cycling, ultimately your knee is going to be healthier and happier. So second thing I'm noticing, just as a general observation here, is that Chris, his right foot here is slightly pronated or rolled inwards. Don't know if you can come in for a bit of a close-up here, Micah. But what we're looking at here is the ankle joint or subtalar joint. So in simple terms, you've got two big bones that come down here, tibia and fibula, and they attach into the ankle. And on top of the foot, inside this foot, we have a bone called a talus, and it sits up in this sort of in this fashion like so. And the two bones come down and they lock here. And the ankle joint, we're trying to make the ankle nice and neutral when you're riding. Now in Chris's case, if you look at his right ankle, it's slightly pronated at the rear foot. So from halfway along his foot here, towards the back of the foot, it's rolling inwards. So that is an area of instability which might affect his ability to bang out a sprint at the end of the race when he's absolutely on the rivet and he's out of energy. So yeah, a little observation there from a physio perspective, and then in a second I'm going to get on to how Chris moves. Down, up. Oh, nice bit.
How many more?
Let's do one more. Pretty good. Good. Bit lower.
Alright. Well, at least one leg sort of goes straight.
What's really interesting is that your right leg there, which has got the the concerns on, is actually behaving better than the left. Yeah, look at the variation in this movement of the knee. Right, so really again we're trying to analyse how Chris moves. There's a lot of lateral movement here, and from a sprinter's perspective or any rider's perspective, any lateral movement is going to lead to more energy use and less function on the bicycle. More inefficient, shall we say. Now he's more stable on his right foot, on his right leg, because it's his dominant leg, but look how his whole ankle from the rear foot is really collapsing and his toe is literally gripping the floor. But your right glute there, you're keeping your pelvis nice and still throughout. If you look at his hip, he's dropping his pelvis on the right hand side, so he's got a slight weakness on his right hip. So as he comes down, he's dropping his pelvis on the right hand side, or the contralateral side. So as he comes down, if you just do it again, so as he comes down, he's trying desperately to not let that right hip drop. So he's got a weakness in his left hip. As a consequence, his knee is moving all over the place. So in actual fact, Chris's left knee issues is mainly to do with his left hip weakness rather than his ankle, because his actual ankle under load is behaving quite well. So this is like a posh bathroom tile really, and we're just looking at the foot posture. So this identifies that Chris is having to balance on something no wider than my little finger, and it's quite difficult. So the idea of the footbed is it's going to fill this void, thus giving you a better, stronger, more stable platform. So this is a side-ass moulding platform. Essentially it's quite a simple process, but we're going to take a moulding of the feet from Chris, slightly toned in. That's it, you can stand on that leg now. And we're going to put that foot there. Okay. You can clearly see that the forefoot is nice and strong, but the rear foot is where the instability lies. So I just want you to imagine, Chris, you're just scrunching up some newspaper with your toe. So just curl your ankle up for me. So bring your toes upwards. That's it. Keep your foot flat and just bring that ankle up like that for me there. So this is what's known as subtalar neutral. So your ankle is now in a neutral position. There, and that's where you need to be when you're sprinting. Alright? If you just let your ankle go floppy, look at that. So just do that up and down. Look at all that movement in your foot. And can you see how your whole leg is rotating as you do that? And it's affecting the way your knee is positioning. Multiply that by about 10 times when you're doing an 1800 sprint. We're going to keep those ankles neutral. So basically curl those ankles up. That is neutral. And that feels a bit unnatural to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having to hold them out, yeah.
Yeah, you're having to hold them out a little bit. But we've got a neutral ankle there, okay? You've rolled in again, mate, so just bring it on out a bit.
That feels like the old pair did originally, you know, like that sort of unnatural
and that's what we're trying to achieve, a nice and neutral ankle. A couple of dog hairs there, but there you go. You've got now 2 different feet there. Notice how the right one is more pronounced than the left one. We've done that deliberately, knowing that when you're standing on that right foot, there's more movement in it. So here's Chris's old orthotic. By the way, the word orthotic means it's going to physically move your foot into a position that's beneficial to you. An insole, or footbed, doesn't actually correct some of the instability issues that you have, whereas this is going to give you more support, and it's going to physically move you into a position, which can be a bit more dangerous actually, and it can increase the risk of injury if you don't get it right. Anyway, here's the preformed orthotic from Sinas. Here is the new basic plate, and you can see it's fairly flat, it's lightweight, it's very thin, so it's not going to take up too much space inside the shoe. You'll notice how there's different layers of carbon fibre, and at the moment this is a solid plate, and we're going to put them in a heater in a second, and these 2 carbon fibre plates are going to mould into one uniform plate. So I've just released the air from the mouldings, and that's popped the orthotic out, and you'll end up with basically a carbon fibre shaped piece which goes in the shoe, and that is the same shape as Chris's foot. All I'm doing is using the existing insole from the Lapierre shoe, just marking around it. So I've just trimmed up the orthotic using the existing insole that came with the Lapierre shoe. When you put the insole in, the orthotic in, just make sure you're putting it in centrally to the rear of the shoe box there, so you get a nice snug fit. So with a road cycling shoe, you naturally, they want to be stiff and rigid because of the biomechanics of the sport. You're fixed in the bike. If I was to make a set of footbeds for a runner, for example, you need to factor in the fact that your foot naturally lands on the outside of your foot, and it rolls across the midfoot, and then you toe off your big toe when you run. So you have to naturally, take that into account, that natural sort of movement of the foot when you're running. But with cycling, the biomechanics of it is literally keep your foot and keep your ankle nice and neutral, which is going to give you that platform that you need to deliver the power. Okay. And it's not just for riders like yourself and when I was racing, it's for recreational riders. You're getting the maximum gains, and it's going to lead to more enjoyment. Your knee's going to be happier, you'll be more efficient, and you'll be able to ride for longer.
Finally then, Scott, if someone's watched this video and they're still unsure as to whether they should try footbeds, yes or no, what would your last bit of advice be?
My last bit of advice for the footbeds would be, if you have a bit of knee discomfort or saddle discomfort, and you've had a basic fit, I've always advised everyone to get a basic fit. It's worth its weight in gold. And if you're still getting the knee pain, having covered the basics with a bike fit and ensure that your saddle position is correct and your bars and everything is set up correctly, and your cleats have been adjusted and set up by a professional accredited bike fitter, if you're then still getting knee pain and knee discomfort, having also assessed off the bike issues like we found today, that would be then a good solution for your knee pain, would be to try the footbeds. But don't think that footbeds are going to solely fix your knee pain. It is one of many factors of the bike fit, and we have to look at the rider as a global approach, look at many different areas of the knee because it's so complex, establishing the problem of the knee pain and going from there. And like I say, tick the boxes, get the basics covered, and if everything else has been covered, that would be a good time to then try some footbeds.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be as physically good now and motivated and have all the time.
Have you seen the sign-on profile? I've got a dad bod. Come on.
Never, Scott.
Yeah, so it was good times, but yeah, hopefully your knee's going to be happy, bud. And when you're sprinting and doing those big efforts, maybe doing the odd brace or two, it'll put you in good stead for winning the race.
Let's hope so. It'll be worth it. Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much for your time.
No worries.